Welcome back to the channel, guys. Now today I have for you just a little bit of a look at, not so much of a review, but just a little bit of a look at the Panasonic S1. Now this is a camera that I borrowed from Photo and Video, so firstly I want to thank the guys at Photo and Video for allowing me to take this away for a couple of weeks and test it out. Now, as you would have seen by the last few videos, we had been away in the Catlins in the bottom of the South Island, and we took this along as well to just to take some photos and to see what it's like using one of Panasonic's first full-frame cameras. Now, just a couple of things. This is a 24 megapixel full-frame sensor. It uses the L mount. I've got a 35mm f1.8 on at the moment, and most of the photos you'll see in this video are using the 20 to 60 kit lens that I got with the S5 that I own. Now, I have done a video on the S1R, which is a 47 megapixel full frame camera. Come out around similar sort of time frame as this one here. It is a bit larger and heavier than the S5, but I feel like it. One moment. Now here's my S5, and although I've got a camera cage on it, the grip is just a little bit different. It's not as tall, and so without this camera cage on it, my pinky just about slips off the bottom of the camera, whereas with this one, my whole hand, I can put my whole hand around the grip and it doesn't slip off. With a camera cage on, it's going to be even larger. But the difference, one of the differences in this one compared to the S5 is this one has a tilt up and down screen, but it also has a release on the side to tilt it that way, so you can get low angle portrait shots using this screen, which is quite nice actually. As a photographer's sort of camera rather than a videographer's camera, the screen that flips up and down is preferred by most people, and in a lot of ways I prefer that as well. Having the fully articulating screen on the S5 is handy for video work if I'm filming myself, but I don't often do that. I'm using this DJI Pocket 3 for that most of the time. I do like the extra size in this. However, the weight, sort of yes and no. I mean, it's good because it dampens any sort of small movements, and especially if you got, you know, shaky hands or whatever, it can help to minimize that with just a little bit extra weight. Whereas a slightly lighter camera, you might notice it a little bit more. The S5 being, I think, about 700 grams, and this is around about the 1 kilo mark, so there's about an extra 300 grams weight in this. But one thing I've noticed over the past few weeks doing these videos on the Catlins is that the shutter sound on this is way different than the S5. I feel like it's more dampened when you take a photo. It just sounds a bit quieter. Put it up to the microphone and listen to this. Hear that compared to this, the S5. You hear the difference between those two. The S5 sounds a lot more clunky. This just sounds a lot more dampened, and I like that. it just sounds so good. It sounds much better. It sounds more professional in a way, if that makes sense to you guys. But also, it feels more solid because of the extra weight and the bulk. It feels more professional as opposed to the S5. Not saying that it's really plasticky. It is plasticky, but I mean, it's weather sealed. It's well built. But the S1, I should say, just feels a little bit more professional in the way it handles. And it's starting to sound like a review. One of the good things though, that it's got a full-size HDMI port. So if you like to output it to an external monitor, you can do that. And one thing I do notice in this is that it has a lot more different video settings than the S5. There are quite a few different settings than my S5 in this. The other thing I do like too is that top screen, the LCD, and you can also turn the little light on and off to see settings on it. And also, if you can see it, when you turn that light on, some of these back buttons light up. So that's quite handy at night if you wanted to see what you're doing, if you're like taking photos of the Milky Way or something like that. One of the things though, the annoying things, is where the on-off switch is. It's just like where your finger is. To turn it on and off, you gotta pull your finger quite far back to get it on. It's, yeah, minor nitpicks really, but overall, I found I like shooting with this camera. That and the S1R, I think they're both very well built, and especially like the viewfinder, the higher resolution viewfinder. I know the S1R is, I think, 5.7 million dots. I think this is the same resolution. I think I'll put up on screen if it's different. And the LCD on the back is a slightly higher resolution as well. I think it's 2.1 million dots, whereas I think this one, the S5, is 1.8, I think. But I've got the 35mm f1.8 on there at the moment. I'm going to try to take some photos. As it is at the moment outside, it's just rain. But I shall try to get some photos with the 35mm before I have to take it back to photo and video, because I'm on loan for a couple of weeks. But I'll put up on screen some photos and see what you think of the quality of the photos. I mean, there's not a lot to distinguish between that and the S5 really. You got the same, I think pretty much the same sensor. There may be some newer tech in the S5 sensor, I'm not sure. But basically 24 megapixel full frame. There's not going to be a huge lot of difference in the quality of either files. But yeah, I just like the handling and the shutter sound, the EVF on this. So even though it's slightly older, yeah, it's still a bloody good camera. It's a very good first effort from Panasonic in the full frame camera system. So I'll put up on screen now some photos and let me know what you think in the comments. So I hope you like that selection of photos I took. A couple of things with this. The button layout is very similar to the S5. So all the controls on here are very much like the S5 and the X5 Mark II as well. They're all pretty well laid out, easy to get to. Your joystick here, you've got quick menu, you've got your focus modes on here, single, continuous and manual focus. Record button on this one is over here, whereas on the S5 it's up on the top, but then S5 doesn't have a top screen either. But you've got white balance, ISO and exposure compensation buttons up the top here, which are really good. I like the way Panasonic have laid these out so that you can access these buttons just with your forefinger here, easy enough. Push one of them and then use your back dial or the front dial to adjust your settings on it. It's just really easy to get a hang of. It's everything's in reach of your thumb or your finger to adjust a lot of different settings. Easy, very easy. The one difference with this one as opposed to the S5 has got 2 SD card slots. This one's got an XQD and an SD card slot. So, and I don't know whether this XQD slot is compatible with the CF Express cards or not. I don't know. It's something I'm going to have to look into online and find out. But the SD card is the version 2. My wife and I have been with the Panasonic system since the start of the year, and we're finding that this is pretty much, I think, the system that we're sticking with now, because everything just, like I said before, everything just falls into place nicely with the button controls, layout and everything like that, and it's a very good value system as well. This S1, the camera body itself, at photo and video, they've had a few second-hand cameras in lately, the Panasonic S1 model, and they're around about $1,300 New Zealand. So that's really good value for the sort of camera that you're getting here, especially with some of the video specs in it. It's extremely good value. It's easy for me to take long exposure photos. There's been a couple of photos you would have seen here that have been around about the 1 second mark. I think there's one 1.3, I think even, that were handheld and still sharp as. So that's saying something, with a full frame system. With Micro Four Thirds you can get away with times like that, with shutter speeds like that. But on a full frame, it's a lot harder because there's a lot larger sensor to move around and to keep stable. But Panasonic, I think, have done a really good job at the image stabilization in these cameras. So yeah, if you're in the market for a full frame camera, you guys should look at Panasonic, because they are doing some really good things with their cameras lately, and they're very good value. And the range of lenses, both through Panasonic lenses and brands like Sigma, which is in the L-mount alliance. There's a lot of lenses that Sigma make for other camera mounts that are available for the L-mount as well. Plus also, if you can afford it, the Leica cameras, the Leica lenses for it as well, but they're a lot more expensive. But there is a lot more available for the L-mount now than there ever has been. So yeah, I think it's a very good value camera, and one that we look like we're going to stick with now. So with that, say goodbye and thank you all for watching, and we'll see you again next time. Bye bye.